So prices are dropping out west, but they're not dropping here. Zillow, they released Showing Time Plus. We have Sam Cavanaugh coming in for our Mortgage Minute this week with Brent Young, Market Monday. So this week's numbers, what did you think? Hilton Head numbers this week.
Well, it's actually pretty interesting because year-to-date sales are down. So it kind of fits what the national narrative is. But if you look, you can't really look at that in isolation, because if you look at inventory, total inventory is down as well. So inventory is down 20%, sales are down 28%. So 28 by itself is a big number, but when you look at the inventory reduction, it's not that much.
And our average selling price is up on Hilton Head Island 19% year over year. I just can't see our market getting to a point where it's losing value without seeing inventory go up.
Values are impacted by obviously supply and demand. So supply is still shrinking even in this market. In demand, I don't know about you, but I'm still hearing a lot of folks wanting to be on the island. So
100%.
And what's interesting as well is if you look at the average days on market, this surprised me a bit, is that last year days on the market was 71. This year it's 37.
37. I don't think I've ever seen a number in the 30s.
No, properties are more expensive. They're staying on the market less.
Yep.
And they're selling very, very quickly.
Yeah. It's amazing. John Burns, real estate consulting, was interviewed for Fortune Magazine. They say, historically speaking, U.S. home prices usually only fall significantly once supply, inventory, gets high enough that distressed sellers finally cave. In this housing cycle, we're neither seeing a supply glut nor a flood of distressed sellers, but we're still seeing home prices begin to slide. What the hell is that all about?
Well, again, I think that's in some markets. And it is a little bit interesting that the inventory is not increasing significantly, but prices are pulling back a little bit. But I think some of that is due to like the pocket, right? What are the jobs doing in that market? What are income levels in that market?
Yep.
When jobs are starting, you see layoffs again. So even though the inventory is there, people might be leaving that market.
I totally get it. And that's what this article talks about. And you see these West Coast cities, and the article talks about it. A lot of this is being impacted by all the layoffs in the tech sector. And these are all indicated on the map as brown. And it's a scale from prices haven't gone down to they've gone down 8%. They're not showing ones that have gone up.
Right.
Just the ones that have not gone down versus gone down 8%. In like Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Palo Alto, all those really high tech areas are seeing an impact. And it's an affordability question, right? The ultimate inaffordability is not having a job.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Beyond that, the article talks about this perfect storm between interest rates going up, causing people's payment to go up, at the same time that housing prices have gone up more than 42% since the beginning of the pandemic. You put those things together, you have an affordability crunch. And that's why they're seeing, even in these markets where there's low inventory and they're not seeing a flood of distressed sellers, they are seeing prices go down.
Right. So you need to have a job, and you need to have a job that pays what you need to get paid to maintain that property.
That was a great article in Fortune. If you got a chance to, it's one of the best real estate articles that I've read through this pandemic. It's really, really, really interesting. Did you see about Zillow and announcing this Showing Time Plus? Are they just coming in to knock us real estate agents out of the transaction? Is that the deal?
Well, I think Zillow is seems to me anyway, that they're kind of taking the Apple model approach, where they're trying to be everything for the real estate agent and trying to offer a suite of products that kind of hook us in to being a part of Zillow. Me personally, I understand that model, but for us as agents, I don't want to be tied into any one company.
Sure.
Right? So I like to have choices.
The article says that they're not intending to create a closed system, that, if you have a CRM or a back office, even though they have a back office basically in dot loop, that you can bring your own and plug it into their system. I have been in a room with Rich Barton, the CEO, where he talks about his view of the future of real estate. And he talks about it as removing the friction and likens it to the experience that you have when you go and you trade in your car and get a new car. And Rich talked about that as being his view of what real estate should be. And the thing that he said that was so interesting to me, and I actually turned to my wife Sherry and said, holy cow, he's talking about us. is he said, what you don't realize is this is going to bring about lower commissions and all of that, but it's going to cause people to move much more frequently. And I thought about that. I've lived in my house now for 17 years. During those 17 years, I'm embarrassed to say how many cars I've traded in. Man, if that process, and I'm in the business, if that process could be as easy as identifying another house that I want and basically handing over the keys and just going into the other house with the level of certainty around it, would I have moved during this 17 years? And I have to say, probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Whether they're trying to put us out of business or not, at every turn they say that they're not. I think they've made some questionable decisions in the past.
Yeah.
They seem like a different company now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. And for me, I think that's welcome. I didn't mean to grab the stage, but the things that they're doing, I just find interesting once you get beyond the point of, hey, they're coming in with sharp elbows and taking over our business.
No, it's interesting because, you're talking about being in your house for 17 years. Ellen and I, in 25 years of marriage, have owned close to 20 properties. So I would imagine that if it was even easier to do it, because I would tell you it was very, very, very difficult, maybe we would have had 40 properties. I don't know.
So the bridge, the town and the county is getting together, and it looks like there might be, albeit they may be holding their nose and taking the medicine, there might be a deal in the future here about getting this new bridge underway?
It looks like it. It looks like the real, from what I understand, the crux of the issue is whether you have one bridge or you have 2 bridges, and Hilton Head really wants to be more or less part of the conversation. So I think there's been some toggling back and forth, but looks like they may have reached an agreement as long as the county can give Hilton Head a voice in what's being done. I think maybe they can work something out.
A compromise. A compromise. So this week's mailbag, Brent, Jason asked, Hardyville renter here, what's your biggest piece of advice for first-time buyers? This is low-key one of the most stressful and frustrating things I've ever done.
I think that as a first-time home buyer, it's always going to be stressful. I mean, I remember my experience. I'm sure you do. It was very, very stressful. But home equity, home ownership is a very quick way to build wealth. So when I think about this younger generation and the number of renters, I think it's important not to get stuck in that rent mode. You got to be wise. You got to understand what your future holds and where you're going to be. But once you find foothold somewhere, property ownership is the quickest way to build wealth. So get over your fear. Don't worry about interest rates. You've got time on your side, and go ahead and get ownership under your belt.
The best piece of advice I can give you is to have that mindset and then connect with a lender that you can count on. And that segues us in perfectly. We're going to bring in or have our Mortgage Minute here with Sam Cavanaugh. And thanks for stopping in this week.
Thanks for having me.
So welcome, Sam. Thanks for stopping in for our mortgage update. I'm going to jump right back to Jason's question. Hardyville renter here, what's your biggest piece of advice for first-time buyers? What would you tell Jason?
Obviously, buying your first house, I remember when I bought mine in 25 years and had absolutely no idea what to expect. Rented my whole life. I didn't know what a mortgage was. I think the key is to have partners that you can really trust that are very experienced, more so than any other real estate transaction on your first one. You need somebody who's really going to hold your hand through the purchase process, set the expectations, what's going on, what's going to happen, because you've never been through it. And on the mortgage side, of course, it's a big financial decision, but it's also a process you've never been through. Anybody who's gotten a car loan or a credit card, it's just you pull your credit and you fill out a little piece of paper and you get your loan or you don't. And a mortgage is obviously much more to that. The property is being evaluated to make sure that it's a property that's acceptable to the lender. The process of getting approved and guiding you through what you can actually afford. So it's really important to have key players that are very experienced and be able to hold your hand through the process and be there for the next round.
It makes all the difference. And from my perspective, what I'm looking for in a lender is somebody that's going to tell me the truth right up front. And then somebody that's done enough loans recently that can anticipate what you're going to need. The worst thing is to think that you're all done and you're all set.
Yeah.
And then have underwriting come back with this laundry list of things, right? Yeah. It really should have just been in the first go round, right? That's where the stress comes on.
Yeah, especially if the first time you're buying your house and you think everything's done and it's 4 days before closing, and all of a sudden you get a call from somebody at the bank and they need some more pay stubs or another account statement, even though it might be a procedural thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be homeless in 5 days. I'm not really approved for this loan yet.
What does this mean? Does this mean that they're not sure, right?
Right, yeah.
All the uncertainty that goes along with that. All right, well, give us a quick update on the mortgage industry right now. What's happening?
Obviously, anybody who watches the news knows that rates are up quite a bit the last year. They could go higher. A lot of people ask, should I wait for rates to come back down before I buy? And the reality is they could go higher from here. This could be something where 6 months you look back and say, boy, I wish I would have purchased this house in October of 2022 because now, rates are 2% higher. And if rates do come down, that's a beautiful thing about mortgages. You can always just drop down into it. So I really don't think that if somebody's in a situation where they need a house now, they got to go live somewhere. Am I going to go rent somewhere? Am I going to buy a house? I wouldn't advise renting and waiting for rates to fall because they may not. And if they do, you can always take advantage of them.
Good advice. Well, thanks for stopping in today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.